and welcome to the 9 News Business Buzz. I'm Ryan Frazier, 9 News business expert. We're seeing a rare split in the economy right now. While national unemployment continues to rise, Colorado is moving in the opposite direction, dropping to 3.9% this past November, the lowest we've seen in nearly 2 years. But here's the catch. Our labor force is shrinking. So what's really happening? Is Colorado's economy getting stronger, or are we simply running out of workers? Joining me now to break down the latest jobs data is Dr. Phyllis Resnick, lead economist at the Colorado Future Center at Colorado State University. Phyllis, welcome on the show.
It's nice to be here. Thanks.
Always great to have you. Phyllis, for nearly 2 years, Colorado's job growth lagged behind the national average. But in October and November, that trend reversed. We're now growing a little bit faster than the national average. If you had to pick one headline, which is it? Colorado's economy and economic engine is truly shifting into higher gear, or is the national economy simply slowing down faster than we are?
Well, I'm going to be a classic economist here and say it's a little bit of both. My take on this jobs report is we're not setting any growth records, but we're also not in territory that I would call dangerous. So I think the headline is that our economy is showing resilience. We're continuing to add jobs. It's slowing a little bit, but so has the nation. And we have slowed, like you said, more than the nation in our rate of growth prior, and we're picking up a little bit. So, we're holding our own, I think, is what's going on here.
So resilience is
the
kind
word.
of the key word.
Yeah.
Now, unemployment is down, as we mentioned, but the total labor force has declined in every month since July. Are we seeing the silver tsunami of retirements outpace Colorado's ability to replace workers? And does a shrinking labor pool become the biggest constraint on the economic growth of our state in 2026?
I don't think it's the biggest constraint on the economic growth of our state in 2026. And I don't think we have a tsunami yet. But we've been talking about this idea that the state is aging for a very long time. And I see in different aspects of this jobs report indications that we're starting to see those effects pick up a little bit. I don't think it's going to constrain our growth, but I think we need to realize that over time we're going to need the workers to support a population that's largely going to, over time, leave the labor force.
Yeah, and I remember seeing some data from a previous report that, in 2024, 65,000, I think Coloradans turned 65. And I think there's an expectation that we might see roughly 40,000 retirements a year for the next decade. So you do have to wonder, where are all these people going to go and where the workers going to come from to replace them? So if you were advising an employer right now or business who's watching the show, is the takeaway hire sooner or pay more or plan for slower expansion?
I think the takeaway is recognize that it might be a little bit harder to get the labor that you need to keep your business going. Hopefully we don't see slower expansion. Hopefully we are replacing workers in the state at a rate, significant enough to keep pace with what we need to serve the population.
Now, we are seeing strength in some higher wage sectors, while professional business services and manufacturing have been losing some jobs. Sectors you've described as more AI exposed. Phyllis, are these job losses an early sign of AI reshaping Colorado's workforce, or is this still like high interest rates and economic fatigue showing up in the data?
I don't think we know yet, but it is interesting that the two sectors where we've seen the most weakness in the last few months has been in these professional and business services, which potentially are affected by AI, and of course in manufacturing as well. As we know, manufacturing has become increasingly less labor intensive and more machine or what we call capital intensive. There is, however, I think a silver lining for the state, if I could bring it up a little bit. We have a silver tsunami, so let's have a silver lining with it. We potentially are in a period, and we're starting, I think, to see indications of this in the report, where we are in this sweet spot where we have young retirees, so they're not necessarily young folks, but they're young in their retirement years, who have economic wherewithal and time on their hands. They kind of have that sort of perfect combination of time and money. And I think that's part of what's supporting some of these other sectors that we're seeing, leisure and hospitality, some of the service sectors, and then, of course, healthcare as well. As we get older, we know that we demand and consume more healthcare.
And so those are the... When you look at the data, Phyllis, I'm curious because this is good, all right, good stuff. But when you look at the adjustments for inflation, wages rose by 1.4% in 2025. We all hear the talk about the cost of living and affordability. For families at home, does a 1.4% real wage gain actually feel like progress, or are the higher housing and food and insurance costs still making it feel like people are falling behind?
I think more and more people feel like they're falling behind with only a less than 2% wage gain, because as we know, inflation is really running closer to the high 2s to 3. And of course, your inflation rate that you face is going to depend on exactly what you consume. But if you're trying to enter into this housing market and keep up with childcare costs and some of the other household budget items, I think it's becoming increasingly difficult with wage growth,
Yeah, now
that you're talking about.
we're waiting on your latest Colorado cast. I always look forward to seeing that when it comes out. That will forecast out through May of this year. Without giving away the full forecast, does the data suggest this roughly 3% growth pace is sustainable into the summer, or should we be bracing for a softer landing or slowdown?
My sneak peek into it, by looking at the data that were just released Friday, we had a delay, of course, in the release of data because of the federal shutdown, but my sneak peek at the data before I ran the models, to me, suggests that we're likely to see that 2 to 3% growth persist into the first and the middle of the second quarter of next year. So that's a little bit of good news for the Colorado economy.
Yeah, what's the one economic kind of data indicator you watch closely?
We probably mostly watch labor markets because so much of the economic growth is very closely tied to what's happening in labor markets. So again, the jobs report we're seeing is an indication that, I'm going to use that word resilience again, that we have resilience going forward. Again, we're not breaking growth records, but we're also not, looking at an economy where we're really worried about a significant slowdown.
Dr. Phyllis Resnick with the Colorado's Future Center at Colorado State University. Thanks so much for joining us on the Business Buzz.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Here's the takeaway. Colorado's economy is showing resilience, as Dr. Resnick said, but a shrinking labor force means the war for talent isn't over. It's evolving. We'll be back during the 11 o'clock hour with Denver International Airport CEO Phil Washington to talk about the outlook for the airport. For the 9 News Business Buzz, thanks to my guest, Dr. Phyllis Resnick, I'm Ryan Fraser. See you next time.